following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Here's what's cooking on the day's Sports Stove podcast. We got NFL picks, major NFL trades. The World Series is almost upon us, and the NASCAR postseason gets interesting. That's what's cooking on the day's Sports Stove podcast.
From Belly Up Sports and the Belly Up Podcast Network, you're listening to the Sports Stove Podcast with your host, Vince Stover.
Hey, good looking, what you got cooking? How's about cooking something up in me?
Welcome in to an all-new edition of the Sports Stove Podcast presented by Righteous Felon Jerky. Join the flavor revolution at righteousfelon.com. This is show 1 of 2 on this Thursday night. I'm Vince Stover, joined by my dad, Dale Stover, as we are going to be talking all major sports. Coming up an hour and a half from now, the Sports Stove Local Hour goes live, talking EKU football with some phenomenal guests tonight. Patrick Nations and Jeremiah Bailey will join the show. But first, lots of things to talk about in the sports world. Dad, how you doing?
Good, doing good. Like you said, a lot going on, so...
Yeah, it's funny how it all works out too. I worked later today than I've worked in a long time, and now we're jumping into 2 shows. We're going to keep things rolling tonight. Major news came out this afternoon. Tony Bennett from Virginia, the storied Virginia coach, really won a national championship there, announces his retirement a week after ACC Media Days, where he actually joked about retiring early, like some of the other guys, especially Jay Wright, had done recently. Seemingly out of nowhere, this is a weird time to be retiring, Dad, from a guy that's not that old. And I'm not sure what's going on here. Any thoughts on the abrupt loss of a coach for Virginia?
Well, no, I mean, again, we've talked about it may be a lot like college football, this whole thing with the portal and NIL, and it really takes a toll on people. And if a guy like him, he'll probably have other options to do, and maybe it's just a lot less stress. So I would assume that would have something to do with it. Yeah,
but I mean, a month before the season, to me, it just seems like at this point, unless there's like a health issue or a family issue, it just seems like you just play out the season and then retire, leaving the team at this point. It puts a lot of people in some tough spots for sure. I know the one Virginia fan that I know is devastated. So we'll see how it all shakes down. College football continues to be interesting. And this week we've got some big time battles coming up this week as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun to see how it all shakes down coming into this week. Of course, the biggest matchup of the week is Texas and Georgia. And that'll be the primetime game Saturday night. Number 1, Texas, number 5, Georgia. And then we're excited. Tennessee's got a big game this week as well as they host Alabama for the 3:30 kickoff there. Any other college football thoughts, Dad? I mean, my goodness, Vandy continues to shine. They're getting votes. They're not in the top 25. They're getting votes, though. And I don't know. It's an intriguing college football season.
It is. I think as far as games this week, Nebraska and Indiana, be interesting to see if Indiana stays undefeated and playing at home. And, of course, Illinois had a good year and they're hosting Michigan, and Michigan struggled a little bit, and this is a big game. So lot of good games, but like you said, the Georgia-Texas game will be very interesting. And Alabama and Tennessee always is, but there's a lot on the line this year. So see if Tennessee's offense can recoup here.
Yeah, and I think that Texas and Georgia, what makes it extra fun is it has draft implications. You got the 2 quarterbacks that are 2 of the top quarterbacks in the draft coming next year. Of course, both teams have lots of talent that'll be drafted as well, so it kind of adds to that excitement. Tennessee, I mean, Alabama has not looked like Alabama now for a couple of weeks, losing to Vanderbilt. Last week they won, but it was, I mean, by the skin of their teeth. So that's an interesting game. I think if if Tennessee can shine in that game, then I think they're right back up there in the conversation where they were a couple weeks ago. But Tennessee hasn't looked great either the last couple of weeks.
Right.
So this is a game against two teams that have not been playing their best football, but really need to play their best football this week.
Yeah, they really do. And so, yeah, Tennessee needs to play better than they've been playing, that's for sure. So, and of course, Alabama, a big game for them, I'm sure, again, with a new coach and just a lot of history, obviously, with this game. So,
for sure. Major League Baseball, we're in the final rungs, it seems like. The Dodgers and Mets play again tonight. They are currently Dodgers leading the series 2-1. Yankees and Guardians are playing as we do this show. Yankees lead the series 2-0. Guardians lead the game halfway through the fifth, 2-1 in that one. So we'll continue to keep an eye on the postseason in the Major League Baseball season to see how that shakes down. It is trending Dodgers Yankees, but it is not over, as they say, until the fat lady sings. So haven't heard that just yet. Let's get into football, though. We've got a guest coming on here in a few moments, maybe 20, 25 minutes from now, Chris Prince, to talk NASCAR playoffs. So we will get into that later tonight. But we're going to spend the rest of our time until Chris is here talking about the NFL. And, Dad, some major trades go on this week. We see two top-tier wide receivers get moved. Devontae Adams rejoins old teammates in the New York Jets program. And then Amari Cooper gets to move to Buffalo from Cleveland as well. There were other trades. I had to go check when the trade deadline was. I was confused. Trades were going down. Cam Akers goes to Minnesota to help with their run game situation up there. So, yeah, really surprising to see this much movement all at one time, but it added a little of excitement to the week.
Yeah, it does. And I think it's teams that are, again, there's so much parity in some ways in the NFL with teams that need help. It's not a deal of waiting a few more weeks. If they can make the move now, Buffalo, and I've heard Buffalo may not be done making moves. So I think they're trying to get themselves in position there. No doubt about it. Of course, Devontae Adams wanted to trade, so something was going to happen there. We'll see how big of effect, that it will be on the Jets. Minnesota shoring up things there. So I think you've got teams that are, knowing they need to, keep getting as many wins as possible. So, yeah, it is a little early, but I think it makes sense the way the NFL season's going.
Yeah. Maybe one of the more overlooked things so far this week has been Russell Wilson seems in line to start in Pittsburgh this week. And at 4-2, the Steelers looking to give a healthy Russell Wilson an opportunity. Fields did not steal the job in his opportunities that he had. What are your thoughts on the possibility of Russell Wilson starting this week?
Well, it sounds like there's a good chance of it. I'm a little surprised, but I mean, again, they're paying Russell Wilson, so they need to see what they have there. It'll be interesting to see how well he plays because the Steelers have been doing pretty good. So, there'll be a lot of pressure on him, I think, to maintain things there. I think Fields has made a good showing so far. Yeah, a little bit of a head scratcher, but again, they need to see what Russell Wilson has. So I guess now is the time. If they go 2 more weeks and keep winning, it'd be almost impossible for them to do it. So I guess this is time they need to. I'm not sure how long Russell Wilson will be the quarterback, but we'll see.
6 teams in the NFL only have 1 win. So currently fighting for the number 1 overall draft pick. The Jaguars, Panthers, Patriots, Browns, Rams, and Titans, all with 1 win so far on the season. There's another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams with only 2 wins on the year also. Dad, I'm surprised to see the Jaguars at 1 win. I'm a little surprised. Well, I am. I'm surprised to see the Browns at 1 win also, and the Rams as well. Out of these teams, I mean, Carolina seems the shorefront worst team in the league, but are they going to end up being the worst record in the league when the season's done?
Yeah, I don't know, because the Raiders, there's a lot of stuff going on there. And, and some of these teams are going to have to snap out of this, or otherwise, it's going to spiral because you've got some other teams playing better in their divisions in some of them. So, we'll see where that goes. And even some of the 2-win teams, need to pick up another win here this week, or they're going to be maybe a real log jam down there at the end. So we will, we will see where it goes. And some teams, made moves to try to get better, like the Jets, but we'll just see how that goes. And of course, there was, a lot of drama today with the Jets. It was surprising a little bit, but with everything that's gone on, and now Fireman Ed, he's upset because he's getting demoted and not enough time on the video board. So apparently, Aaron Rodgers has trouble with Fireman Ed. So there's just a lot going on there.
A lot happening. Kevin Wilson chimes in. Speaking of Russell Wilson, if he's healthy, he's a Wilson, so you have to start him. Fair argument, Kevin. Fair argument for sure. From there, Giants, Saints, Cardinals, Bengals, Raiders, Jets, all 2-4. The Dolphins 2-3 on the year. It is a knockout, drag-out fight for that number 1 draft pick this year, and I'm not sure there's anyone worth it, honestly, when it's all said and done. But let's get into the storylines this week. Last week's picks were phenomenal. Dad went 6-0, all 6 of them correct in our pick 6. I went 5-1, and we did well in our overall picks as well. But Dad, it's a new week, and a new week means new opportunity. And so now here we look at, we pick 6 games each week. We do the primetime games, and then fill out the other 6 with random games throughout the week. So this week we have 4 primetime games starting on Thursday. Man, this is a humdinger. The Denver Broncos travel to the New Orleans Saints. Broncos 3-3. Sean Payton's return to New Orleans. Denver, Dad, on the road is a 3-point favorite over, I assume, Spencer Rattler again and the New Orleans Saints. They also lost star receiver for the rest of the season with Shaheed going down. And so Vegas says the Saints don't have a chance. What do you think about New Orleans hosting Denver?
Well, it was a hard one to pick because I want to pick Denver, but then, you've got New Orleans at home. But I forgot about the quarterback switch. So, again, I think I will take Denver in this one. I need to make a change to that on my run pool, but I think Denver, we'll go with Denver with them being favored.
That makes me feel better, Dad, because I picked the Saints, and I don't trust either quarterback at this point. I just think Denver's I don't think they're as good as their record. And the Saints defense is still really good, even though they're hurting offensively. I'm going to go Saints at this one at home against Denver on a Thursday, especially. Yeah, I'm going to go New Orleans in this game. Sunday night is the Jets and the Steelers. What a great timing for NBC to get the Jets with Davante Adams coming over and him and Rodgers reunited, and it feels so good. The Steelers going with Russell Wilson. I mean, there's all kinds of storylines here for NBC this week. The Jets 2-point favorites on the road in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh 4-2. The Jets 2-4. How you picking this game?
Again, it's a little tricky because, again, with Davante Adams coming over, or is this going to be kind of a rebound thing for the Jets? But I think Pittsburgh is a better team at this standpoint, and they're at home. So even though the Jets are favored, I'm going to take Pittsburgh at home.
Awesome. I'm taking the Jets. I just don't think the Steelers are that good at the end of the day. And I don't trust Russell Wilson as far as I can throw him. I can't say that I love the Jets, but I just think they're better than the Steelers, even though the record says otherwise. I'm going to go New York in this one, Dad. While we're on the topic, though, who benefits the most from the Davante Adams trade in New York?
As far as in New York, I think, well, again, it's, Aaron Rodgers has got somebody that he knows there. I think it'll be good. I think anywhere Devontae Adams, goes is going to be a better situation for him, and it's a good situation for him.
Yeah.
Is it going to turn the Jets season around? I don't think so, and I think there's going to be more turmoil over this internally as time goes on. But again, 2 or 3 wins in a row would heals a lot of things, but I'm not sure they'll get that, so we'll see.
Yeah, I agree. I think Devontae Adams benefits the most. Obviously, gets to a quarterback that he knows, a quarterback that can play outside of Las Vegas. And he comes in, though, and, Dad, I just really feel like this is going to be a problem for the young receiver in the room who is so good, Garrett Wilson. And we've watched Rodgers for too many years. He's going to throw a whole bunch of passes to Devontae Adams. They're going to get in the red zone. He's going to throw passes to Allen Lazard, as he has been doing all season, which means Wilson's the one that's missing out here. He's going to be the one who's going to be getting maybe 4 catches a game, maybe 4 to 5 targets a game. I have a feeling this is going to turn out negative for Garrett Wilson, at least in the fact of his relationship with the Jets as well. And if we've learned anything over time, go younger, not older. And they've decided to go older in New York. I think it's going to cause them to lose a young talent in Garrett Wilson here in the somewhat near future. Moving on with games, though, 2 Monday night games this week. Let's start with the Baltimore Ravens traveling to Tampa Bay. Both teams 4-2, and Tampa is underdogs at home, 3.5 points here to Baltimore. We like both of these teams, but who do you think is going to win this game?
Yeah, both teams were playing well, but I think you have to go with Baltimore. I think they're the better team, and they're playing well right now. But again, Tampa's had some great games, so this should be a really good football game, but I will pick Baltimore.
Yeah, I'm with you. I go Baltimore as well. I've ridden that Baker train. I do like it, but I think Baltimore is one of the better teams in the league right now, and so I'm going to go with them as well. Then also on Monday night, a late game, 9:00 kickoff, solely on ESPN Plus. The 3-2 Chargers travel down the road to Arizona. The Cardinals are 2-4. The Chargers 2.5-point favorites on the road. Dad, we know that you absolutely hate the Chargers, so I'm guessing you're going Cardinals in this game?
Actually, yes, I am going to go Cardinals because, again, I think they'll rebound from last week. They played really bad last week, but they've had some good games earlier. Again, they did beat the 49ers. So we will see. I thought about picking the Chargers, but I just couldn't make myself do it. So we'll go with the home team here and the Cardinals.
Yeah, I'm going Chargers, of course, in this one. I just trust them more. I think I just trust them more, needless to say. So that's where I'll stick with on this one here. So that's 4 games down. I go Saints, you go Broncos. I go Jets, you go Steelers. We both go Ravens, and then I go Chargers, you go Cardinals. Game 5 this week, who are you picking?
We'll go back with hail to the Commanders, and we'll take Washington over Carolina. Washington's playing real well. Carolina's not good, but I think Washington, isn't the kind of team that will look past people yet at this point. So I'll pick Washington at home over Carolina.
Yeah, that's the easy one, Dad. Since you picked it, I'm going to stay away from it. That was definitely on my mind as well. I'll go Colts over the Dolphins this week. The Dolphins are really bad until they get Tua back, and that's only if he's healthy. They're going to continue to be bad. So I'm going to go Colts over Miami, and I think that Miami may be without Tua, and not even without Tua, without a competent backup quarterback. Miami may be one of the worst teams in the league, and they're not worse than Carolina, so Washington's definitely a good pick. But Dad, I cannot see Miami winning this game against Indianapolis.
Yeah, I can't either. I think Indianapolis is a safe pick, but I didn't pick that one. So
okay, all right. Who's game 6 for you?
We will take Buffalo over Tennessee. Again, Buffalo at home. Tennessee is struggling. Buffalo, I think, is playing better. And I wouldn't say it's super safe because you never know, but I think Buffalo at home. I feel good about that.
Yeah, I would feel good about that as well. I think that's a very safe pick for sure. My last pick, I'm going to try to decide which way I want to go on this one, because honestly, Buffalo and Washington were kind of the direction I was leaning as well. But I will go with, I'm trying to decide between Seattle or the Rams, right? Or not Seattle, sorry, Philadelphia or the Rams right now. I'll go Philadelphia. They're on the road facing the Giants. They need to win this game. They should win this game. And so I'm going to, surely, right? They've got to win this game this week. So I'll go Eagles over the Giants. What are your thoughts on that divisional battle?
Yeah, it's an interesting divisional battle. You're right. Philadelphia needs to win, but actually on run pool, I picked the Giants. Their defense plays pretty well. And again, it's a divisional battle, and just got a feeling a little bit about that one. So we'll take the Giants. Won't be shocked, won't be upset if Philadelphia wins. I just assume Philadelphia win, but this could be a tough game for them.
All right, let's look at the other games that are left in London. I can't believe neither of us wanted to touch this game. The Jaguars and the Patriots, 2 1-5 teams, fighting it out for first draft pick overall. Jacksonville is a 6-point favorite. I would assume part of that is that they've been in London all week, where New England had to travel. But I don't know that I trust the Jaguars. I would not pick the Jaguars to win and cover. I might pick them to win, but I can't see it being a blowout either. So what are your thoughts about Jacksonville and New England?
Yeah, I picked New England in that one because, again, just don't trust Jacksonville. New England's not necessarily good, but I think, they're to me, they're in some ways they're playing better. You got a new quarterback there and everything. So I picked New England, not with a lot of confidence, but.
All right. Atlanta hosts Seattle this week. Atlanta 4-2, Seahawks 3-3. I've already talked about I don't really trust the Seahawks this year. I do think the Falcons are finding their rhythm a bit as well. I'd go Falcons in this one, especially being at home. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. I think the Falcons are finding their rhythm. That's a good way to say it. And, they should do well, so I pick them.
C.J. Stroud takes his 5-1 record to Green Bay, who is 4-2. The Packers 2.5-point favorites at home in this one. How do you feel about your Packers?
This should be a really good game, and it's a real measuring stick, I think, kind of for both teams, especially for the Packers. But the Packers are playing well. We'll see if the defense can continue to play well against C.J. Stroud there. I think the offense is finding its rhythm, and so I'm going to pick the Packers because I want them to win. Can't say I'll be surprised necessarily if we lose this one, but I think the Packers could win this, and that would really propel them in a lot of ways. And they're in a division that division's a real surprise right now, and another win would really help that.
For sure. In Lambeau Field, there was a time where losing in Lambeau was a surprise no matter who they were playing against. And I think we're getting close to that point again, Dad, as well. So I think it should be a fun game up there in Green Bay this week. Cincinnati and Cleveland, two really just struggling teams right now. But I don't know that there's a whole lot more teams struggling more than Cleveland. I'd pick Cincy in this one. But at some point, Cleveland's going to wake up, you would think. I'm just not sure it'll be this week.
Yeah, Cincinnati, I picked them. But again, this is a division game. It's a big rivalry, an in-state game. And this would really be devastating for the Bengals if they lost this. So
right.
They need to win. In some ways, they're playing better. So hopefully they can take care of business there.
All right, Detroit and Minnesota. Minnesota is one of the only one of two teams that are still undefeated. Lions take a major gut shot this week in losing Aiden Hutchinson on the road in Minnesota. I don't know what to think about this game, Dad, because I can't say I fully respect the Vikings yet, and I definitely don't fully respect the Lions. So Minnesota, a 1.5-point favorite, which makes you think the Lions are kind of the front runners in this one. How do you feel about Minnesota and Detroit?
Yeah, this is a real marquee game, and it'll be real interesting for the conference. I picked Detroit in this, but again, Minnesota may show us that they're going to continue on undefeated for a while. But I think Detroit can and probably should be able to handle this.
All right. Las Vegas trades away the cancer, supposedly, and they're going to travel and face the Rams. Again, the Vegas here has the better record. I don't know that anybody would say they have the better team. Los Angeles is a 7-point favorite in this game at home. I'm definitely taking the Rams. What about you?
Yeah, I'm picking the Rams too on this one. I think Vegas is just going to be hard to keep things together, and they may get that number 1 pick. So,
all right. Then the last game we haven't covered yet is Kansas City, also undefeated, traveling to San Francisco. Man, the 49ers just have not really looked the part much this year. They're 3-3. They are a 2-point favorite at home. But Dad, I really trust Kansas City more than San Francisco right now. I'm going to go KC on the road. How do you feel about that game against the 49ers?
Yeah, I agree with you on that. There's no reason to think Kansas City's really got things going. San Francisco don't know totally the problem, but they have struggled some. And I don't see Kansas City having a letdown against San Francisco. So even though, San Francisco might rebound here, but I would pick Kansas City.
Okay. If you look at the league right now, Dad, and you look at all these games that are going on, is there a coach that you think could be let go after this week if they lose again this week? Will Doug Peterson be on the plane home from London, or will he get to stay and vacation? Do you have Cleveland? I don't think Cleveland's ready to fire their coach yet, but who knows, right? Cincinnati, if Cincinnati loses to Cleveland, do we see them packing up ship? Is there a coach you think is in trouble this week to possibly lose his job?
I wouldn't really think this week. The Giants coach is in trouble too, I think, from there. So, but I wouldn't think. But again, we've had some movement during the season here, which is a little bit surprising. The Raiders, I don't think, will blow things up until after the season from there. So I would think everybody would be safe through here. I kind of thought Dallas was a real question after last week. But, of course, Jerry Jones gave us great confidence that he's going to stay with Mike McCarthy at least through the bye. So we'll see how that goes. So I wouldn't think maybe somebody would lose their job this week. But I don't know how the thing is there in Cleveland. They're definitely in trouble, definitely underachieving. And if the Bengals blow them out, are they going to win a game? First round draft choice, get a quarterback. They're already paying a guy forever. So that's a tough situation.
What does Deshaun Watson have to do or not do in order for Cleveland to give Jameis Winston a shot? I mean, I've been saying this for weeks now. And when I said it when Jameis Winston signed in Cleveland, I thought he was definitely in the competition for best quarterback in the room. I'm a Jameis Winston guy, and I'll back him, and I think he needs an opportunity in Cleveland. The roster's too good to keep doing what they're doing.
Yeah, I just think, the thing with Cleveland, they're in such a bind financially, as far as commitment to Deshaun Watson, but he's not winning, and he doesn't look like he's going to be the quarterback that he was at one time. So at some point, they're going to have to do something. But his trade value, it's not very high at this point either.
Well, no. So you're paying him to lose, or you're paying him to sit on the bench. So why not just pay him to sit on the bench and let someone else have a go at it? Doesn't make any sense to me. You mentioned Dallas, and we'd be much amiss to not knock on Dallas a little bit, even on their bye week. Dad, when they come off the bye, they travel to San Francisco, then travel to Atlanta, then host Philadelphia, then host Houston, then travel to the Commanders before facing up against the Giants on Thanksgiving weekend. or on Thanksgiving, I think that is. Yeah, Thanksgiving. So they don't have a game that is an obvious win until Thanksgiving. And if you're telling me Mike McCarthy's going to survive till Thanksgiving, I'll take the under on that one. I don't think McCarthy will be coaching on Thanksgiving Day. That's my thought. Do you think they'll let him finish out the season, or do you think he's gone at some point soon?
Well, I mean, if they start losing 2 or 3 games in a row, again, when you look at the teams they're playing, Dallas is surprising because every now and then they'll have a week and you think, well, how did that happen? And they'll be scoring a lot and play well, but they're going to have a tough time winning against these teams. So if they lose those 4 or 5, whatever it is, and you got a division game in there with Philadelphia, I would think it would be hard for him to survive. But 1 or 2 wins in that stretch, and he'll stay to the end of the year.
Well, and when you have a hockey team undefeated in the same city, Dad, the pressure gets added on there. Dallas Stars 4-0 to start the season. Dallas Cowboys, not so much. There you go. NHL talk. You didn't see that one coming, did you?
No, I didn't. So.
Do you need to give us 60 seconds on the NHL to let us know what's going on?
No, the Predators have had a tough start, so I can't say much at this point, but I think they're going to be okay. We're doing fantasy hockey, and that's a lot of fun to keep up with, so the hockey season's going. But right now, of course, you got baseball getting ready to get the World Series teams ready, and NFL, you never know what's going to happen on any given Sunday, so we'll see.
Yeah, and we are also on the NFL. We're doing our weekly Pick'ems contest. Currently, Greg Gibson II leads the league, 61 points. Then there's a couple people close by. Dad, I'm sitting there in 4th place at 55, and you're down there at 51, not too far away. Blaine, by the way, at Belly Up, the co-founder of Belly Up Sports, huge week last week. I think he was perfect last week in the picks. No, he picked the Jets instead of the Bills. Almost perfect, but not quite there yet. So there you go. Dad, anything else you want to cover before we send you off into the abyss and bring in Chris Prince?
No, and I'm looking forward to listening to you guys about the NASCAR, because NASCAR is very exciting. I think it's kind of up in the air, so it should be fun through the rest of the playoffs. So that'll do it. We'll see you. And again, I feel good. You picked opposite of me, so hopefully I'll have another great week.
Yeah. Do you have a pick for NASCAR champion now that we're down to 8?
I think Larson might be the obvious one, but no, we'll see. It'll be interesting when they get down to the last 4, because it's this 8. It probably could go. I'll be interested to hear what you guys say, but I think it's probably a little wide open to see who gets in the 4.
All right. Well, very good, Dad. We always appreciate you. And I want to remind people, go check out Righteous Felon, righteousfelon.com, promo code STOVE15. Get you 15% off your purchase. And Dad has attested many times over how good Righteous Felon is. So you definitely want to check that out too. All right, Dad. Well, I appreciate you as always. And we'll talk to you again soon. And thanks as always.
Okay. We'll see you next week.
All right. Thank you. That's Dale Stover joining us as he does every week. Tonight, special night, special time. And a reminder, right after this or very soon after this program, the Sports Stove goes live again. That's right. 8 o'clock. Sports Stove local hour kicks off. Jonathan Duff, EKU long snapper, co-hosts with me. We're being joined today by the record-setting EKU kicker, Patrick Nations, as well as defensive end Jeremiah Bailey. So that comes on at 8 o'clock right here on the Sports Stove YouTube channel and the Sports Stove Facebook page as well. But now it's time to talk NASCAR. And we reached out to Bob Pockrass this week, and Bob actually said, I would love to do it. But then schedule things happened and was unable to attend. And we said, that's fine, because our first choice all along was the one and only Chris Prince from the Belly Up Sports Network. Chris, how you doing, man?
I'm good, Vince. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. I sat there and watched the race this weekend, and I can't say I was super entertained by it. I'm not a Roval guy. I'm not a fan of the Roval necessarily. But what I was entertained by was that cutoff line. and watching the guys, Reddick was down here for a minute, and Logano was down here for a minute, and all these things happening. That's what kept me going, but I really like the tracks that we're going to go finish out the playoffs in, so I'm really excited about that. Let's start with the disqualification, because I think that's probably where we need to start at today. Alex Bowman makes the cut. All is good with the world for Hendrick Motorsports. They've got 4 teams in, flying high, and then maybe an hour or so after the race, all of a sudden it pops up there. Disqualified, did not meet the weight requirement, to which NASCAR really kind of just pushed out there very hardly. Hey, we gave them every opportunity.
Right.
still didn't make it. General thoughts on the disqualification and ultimately going below the cut line for the playoffs for Alex Bowman.
I feel gutted for Alex as a driver, because, at the end of the day, he may not have as much to do with that as, the crew guys, and for his fans, because, and I don't just say that for our fellow, friend Caleb here, but Alex had turned it up amidst all the rumors and everything, and, deserved a little better than that, in my opinion. I was excited to see what he could do too, because he has really good tracks coming up. So it really, it shocked me to see that. But again, that's the game they play. It's a matter of ounces, pounds, inches, all of the measurements you can think of with NASCAR. I feel like they cut it to the inches, and sometimes maybe the team and things happen and they cut it too far, and then they get bit like this.
Are you surprised that they didn't appeal it?
Yes. I feel like they had at least a small case because of that huge. I'm sure you saw the video. There were videos of the debris coming off the car after he had that huge jump, all that air he grabbed at the first of the race. So, a little bit, but if they went in and were like, we're confident we're probably going to lose this, I guess they decided not to spend the money and waste the time. But for Alex, I feel like maybe the fight would have been worth it.
Yeah, if it was Kyle Larson, they're probably appealing.
Yep. If it's William Byron, they probably appeal it, or Chase Elliott. Yep. I feel like you're probably right. And me and Caleb talked about that too. Definitely some fishiness in a sense going on, I think, but another story for another time we'll talk about later, maybe this off season.
Yeah. And I just remembered something else I wanted to ask you, but let me stay on topic for right now, and I'm going to come back to that in a moment. So we're down to 8 in the playoffs right now. And when you sit here and you look at Larson is easily in, no problems there, of course. But Bell, Reddick, Byron, he was close there for a while, able to make it in. Byron's looking good. Byron's looked really solid in these playoffs so far. Then you got Blaney, Hamlin, Elliott, and Logano. So they're all big names. They're all top-tier drivers. And the manufacturers are actually pretty well spread out too. 3 Chevys, 3 Toyotas, 2 Fords. We talked at the beginning of the playoffs, and if I remember correctly, I think you had Logano as kind of a long shot, correct?
He is. Yeah, I did. And it's just mainly because he's Joey Logano. And again, it seems like he has a way to weasel his way into things, whether you want him there or not. He's done it his whole career. And this time he did the best non-weasel job I think he could do. He got into it due to a team's mistake, not so much a driver mistake or something like that. But yeah, Joey he's a closer. I think you got to give him that new, I wouldn't say dawn him Kevin Harvick type closer yet, but he's done this before where he's come on late in the playoffs due to some, conflict or something, and he's won a championship from it. So, as much as that pains me to say, because I'm not a Logano fan personally.
When you look at Vegas, Talladega, Martinsville, these final 3 races here before we get to the championship at Phoenix, how do you think it sets up best for, or who do you think it sets up best for in these 8?
Man, that's tough because you've got a good range of tracks there. You've got the super speedway, the short track, the what do they call it? The paperclip. Sorry, the paperclip as they call it. It really could be anybody. I think, like you say, you're obvious you want to roll with there is a Larson, because Larson's arguably one of the best motorsports drivers in the world right now. But again, it could be really anybody. I like sleeper pick. You could keep an eye on like Chase Elliott. Chase has kind of come on a little solid. He's not been flashy,
Right.
but he's been quiet, and you see him. And that's not just me as a Chase fan, obviously. I mean, the performances back that up a little bit. He's good at Martinsville. He's had decent performances at Vegas, and he's won at Talladega. But Talladega is the wild card in this round. I think you really have to watch, and that could take people. That could take someone like a Larson and make him going into Martinsville, very well at the cut line or below it if he's not smart and doesn't have a good race. So this playoffs are doing what NASCAR want in a sense.
Well, I think so too, because I think to have the competition that we've had and still have 8 of the top 10 drivers in NASCAR there, that's a win for NASCAR.
Yep.
You get some drama, but you still get 8 of the top guys. At the end of the day, they're selling the sponsors. They're the ones bringing in the viewers, all that kind of stuff anyhow. So, yeah, I think they're getting exactly what they want. But I will tell you, I feel like these 3 Hendrick cars that are still in it are running the best maybe out of any of these 8. I mean, I think you would go Larson, Byron, Elliott, if you ask me, as 1, 2, 3 currently of these 8.
I think you have to watch, too, something that a lot of people in the fans haven't thought of. Your defending champion's still involved in this. He's good at Talladega. He's really good at Martinsville. I mean, come on now. You can't necessarily turn away Ryan Blaney in this instance. But, yeah, I'm with you. Hendrick has turned it up. It's quiet, though. It's not like the flashy unless you're Larson. Larson's been the flashy guy. But, I mean, again, it's Kyle Larson. So what do you want to say there? But easily could see a Chase Elliott or a William Byron, especially this week. Byron has a good history on the 1.5 miles, and then even Martinsville. He hasn't been the victory lane, in a hot minute, but anything could happen, and I think that's what you got to. Oh, Homestead apparently, actually, Talladega's not in this round. Caleb's right.
Vegas, Homestead, Martinsville.
Yep.
So we allow Caleb in the comments. We were afraid of his language if we let him on the show tonight. We held him off from being live on air.
And then a little bit. Homestead's going to be, even with it being the format it is, you could still call that a wild card because that could throw someone like a Tyler Reddick back into dominance because he rips the top of the fence. We'll pivot from Talladega even and go to something that could happen at Homestead. Homestead's it's still a wild card, but I think really you probably should watch Martinsville just due to recent history. If you're looking for that wild card type of action, because anything's gonna happen.
For the record, NASCAR.com has Talladega listed as October 19th currently on the schedule. That's why I said Talladega. It is on the NASCAR website. So someone has a typo somewhere that is not fixed. But I just wanted to clarify. Although I don't consider to be a professional NASCAR talking person.
I should have known better. I've just been dadding it up lately, so I've been keeping up the schedule as much as I have been, just watching and trying to keep up then.
Yeah. I want to talk about the lawsuit. We haven't talked since this happened. 2411 Front Row Motorsports filed this lawsuit. It gets a lot of publicity right off the bat because it's Michael Jordan. Then you see now NASCAR is responding pretty aggressively, which is not a surprise, I don't think. But let me ask you first your thoughts on the lawsuit, how you think it's going to end. Are they going to accomplish what they're trying to accomplish?
I want to say yes, because they've got a lot on their side. I mean, and as a fan, the teams need to be getting a little more profit for this. I mean, for what they do. And they're not wrong. Denny said it many a times. You could go listen to his podcast. The facts and numbers all back up what they're trying to do here. And if NASCAR sent something out like they specified, oh, you've got this long to sign it or you lose your charter, I mean, that's going to be some other stuff we have to listen to, because there's been speculation that, even Richard Childress said that publicly. He said he received his charter agreement on DocuSign, and they said by midnight, if it's not signed, you're going to lose your charter for next year.
Yeah.
So I like to think that maybe they have a good case, and that's why they went after it. Michael said, if he didn't think he could win, he probably wouldn't have filed it. So it's going to be really interesting to see, Vince, honestly. I mean, this could become ugly quick, or it could be very fastly resolved, depending on what comes to light.
All right, so let me ask you your thoughts on this. And I don't know how this would play out in NASCAR because it's not set up like a lot of the other sports are.
Right.
Is there something where we could see drivers, maybe owners? I don't think it ever happened with owners, but drivers and teams say, you know what? We're not going to race.
Well, that's what the charter essentially does.
Yeah.
So that would take like 2311 if this isn't resolved and they run open. Denny said many a times it's a demolition derby at the restrictor plates. Yeah, they'll probably go for the Daytona 500 just because of the prestige of it. But if they don't get this worked out, they don't have to show up to Talladega. They don't have to show up to these tracks where they know that the chances of them finishing aren't, going to be good. So, yeah, absolutely. You could see that happen with these teams. I mean, the big one there, I feel like, is probably 2311 because of the magnitude of the name. Michael Jordan, Denny Hamlin.
But do you think other guys who are not, they signed the starter agreement, but could there be a point where it comes to where they realize, hey, the only way that this is ever going to get better is if we take a stand, and we should have taken a stand back before we signed. We chose not to. Now that someone has, will it embolden? I don't think it's going to happen, like I said, with the owners. Rick Hendrick's not going to stand against NASCAR. Joe Gibbs isn't going to stand against NASCAR. But you could see people like Denny Hamlin. You could see Keselowski maybe even he's an owner, of course, mixed in too. And some of these drivers just saying, you know what? Let's just take our stand now because NASCAR cannot afford that.
No, and it's funny you bring this up too, because I've been seeing a lot today alone just on NASCAR Twitter, where the NASCAR's coming up with more options to pay the drivers more and compensate them more to encourage them to not do this and become a bully, like Caleb's talking about.
Yeah,
I think they're trying to play PR. They're trying to play PR now where this doesn't look good, but if we can come out and be like, oh, we're going to pay our racers more and give them more reasons to do, promotions and stuff for us, then, I don't think that'll happen. Denny Hamlin, maybe you could, but I don't think Keselowski is going to as much because they did sign and legal, jargon and what might become of him if he does that. Yeah. But you could very easily. And then if Denny does that, though, I think he's going to run into some issues probably with Joe Gibbs and all his sponsors there. But maybe. And this charter agreement speculatively is only as long as the TV deal, which is only another, I believe, 7 to 10 years. So who knows? This is happening now. In 10 years, it very well could just be a free-for-all where they just throw it all to the wind and say, we want more, and you're going to give it to us, or you're not going to have teams and drivers to have a sport.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's, I understand the aura of Michael Jordan. They got the right attorney, all that kind of stuff makes sense. But I think Hamlin really is the one you got to watch for here because he is a driver. He is respected. I'll use that word in parentheses, driver. I think he is a respected driver.
Well, yeah, I think in the garage for the most part. Yeah.
You get the few things of, Denny's always right. But outside of that kind of stuff, yes, he's a respected driver, respected businessman. And he has been open and shared a lot of his frustrations before this. Yep. And now after this as well. I was impressed. I thought maybe he was not going to talk about it at all on his podcast. Just because I thought maybe Gibbs would say something or NASCAR would, but he went out and he shared some thoughts on it too. I thought was really good as well. So, and then Caleb makes a great point here as well. What happens if all of a sudden 2311 is out here
exactly
winning the championship this year, which, conspiracy theorists will say it won't be allowed, but we'll see.
Yeah, you'll hear all the conspiracies. That's why the 45 didn't win anything, or that's why the 45 was on the cut line magically this week. I've already seen all that. It's a mess sometimes, but that's sports, right?
Yeah.
You get those conspiracies in the NFL, so.
Yeah, we'll see who wrecks out Tyler Reddick this week on lap number 2. If I had to put money on it, it was probably like the other guy that's jilted, LaJoy. He's jilted from other reasons, but he seems to wreck a few people anyhow. So
healthy spin out NASCAR. I mean, he's got a podcast that NASCAR sponsors, so that would make some sense there. I can see that.
Looking at these races ahead, Vegas this week, I always like to throw a little extra love to Kyle Busch on this race. He's in my lineup this week for fantasy NASCAR. But who could play spoiler this week to keep a playoff driver from winning this race?
You picked a good one there, Kyle. I like Kyle Busch, but I'll hinder you a little bit. The speed's not been there for them, I think, is my problem with that. Watch Caleb's here, Alex Bowman. He's got good performance at Vegas. And then another one not talked about a lot just because his years went kind of downhill, and it's his final year, but Truex. He's got the best finishing average in the last 7 races here. He's not going to win in the last 7 races, and again, Lady Luck and him haven't been on good terms this year, but I could see that happening on his way out. It'd be kind of Cinderella type-ish.
Do you think in these next 3 races that a playoff 8 will win all 3? One, not necessarily the same guy win all 3, but one of those 8 will win each of these 3 races?
No, I think you're going to at least lose 1 or if not 2 to a non-playoff driver. Competition's just been too even, like NASCAR wanted when they came up with this car. It's been you've had the Larsons, of course, and you're going to have that where they dominate because they're the bigger teams. They have more funding. They can put more into research. But still, the wins have been really spread out. I feel like you've seen a lot more drivers compete for wins in the last couple of years, and I don't think that it's going to be hard, in other words, especially places like Homestead and Martinsville.
Very good. Anything else NASCAR that I haven't brought up yet that you think is important to cover?
I think NASCAR fans really need to pay some attention though to this lawsuit, Vince. I don't think a lot of us are because we don't want to. But this has potential to throw a huge monkey wrench into NASCAR as we know it. People want to say the Austin Dillon turnaround back at Richmond did, but if Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan go in and stir the pot, this could lead to other things, even with all the legal jargon and whatnot that NASCAR may have put in to protect themselves. I think you could see some things coming.
Yeah. Well, we'll keep an eye on it. We'll look to have you and Caleb back on when we get to Phoenix, and hopefully by then nothing crazy's happened to Alex. We can trust Caleb to keep it PG rated going forward. I joke some for sure, but I appreciate you and Caleb. You guys are putting out content on bellyupsports.com as well, continuing through the playoffs there, and of course plenty of content on Twitter as well. Going there as well. You can follow Chris at NASCAR for everyone if you want some NASCAR coverage from him there as well. Anything we need to know about that content wise that's coming out this week?
We got our picks piece as usual. Should be out tomorrow. I fell behind on power rankings again playing dad, so and it's hard to keep up with those though. You know that for experience, I know. But fell behind with that. But looking to hopefully pick some things up. Got some podcasts with my wife in the works and stuff too.
Nice.
So hopefully we'll have some more collabs to work with you in the future, Vince, as well.
That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome, man. Well, very good. Thank you for coming on. I kind of got to you late this week, and I know. I sat there. Like I said, Bob, I've actually had Bob scheduled twice now this year, and both times just the way it works with his job. And he was busy. If he wasn't in Vegas, if he was East Coast, we probably would have got him. But that time difference hurt us this week. So, but Chris, I appreciate you. Caleb, thank you also. He's been watching and commenting as well. So we do appreciate that. But Chris, thanks, man. We'll get back with you here coming around Phoenix.
Sounds good, man. Have a good one, man.
All right, you too. Chris Prince, Belly Up Sports Racing, head of the department there at Belly Up, and him and Caleb McChesney both putting out lots of content on bellyupsports.com. So if you want to read up on some other things NASCAR related, go to bellyupsports.com and check out Caleb McChesney and Chris Prince there on the website. I want to remind everybody today's program is presented by Righteous Felon Jerky. Join the flavor revolution. RighteousFelon.com. Use the promo code STOVE15. If you're watching live in about 35 minutes, we'll be live again, 8 o'clock with the Sports Stove Local Hour. Tune in for that. Me and Dad will be back next week, hopefully on Wednesday. 8 o'clock, we'll get back to our regularly scheduled time and back at it again next week as well. If you want to jump into our NFL Pick'ems contest, go to my Twitter page at Sports Stove. It is pinned to the top of my profile, and you can join the Pick'ems contest there as well. We sure appreciate you tuning in to tonight's edition of the Sports Stove podcast. Until next time, we'll see you around the sports stove.